barely fitting in the net. But he's in there, yes! Oh yes!
Pecky got off to a great start in part 1, catching a 64-pound common. The plan of big bait drops was proving very effective. As a group, we landed numerous carp plus loads of grass carp, something we didn't account for. Many of the guys were happy to catch them, but it was the carp we were really after. A couple of big storms over the previous nights had brought in some much needed cooler weather. This seemed to also have an impact on the fishing, as Pecky landed 2 carp in quick succession. With the chance of more bites, Pecky quickly got the rod back out on the spot, and it wasn't long until it was away again. Unfortunately, it was another grassy. With Scott and Pecky on grass carp patrol, it was Robbie fishing in swim 8 who was finally rewarded with a carp. This mega 47-pound common was a great result after moving down from swim 9. The storms were back, and after hearing Pecky's buzzering meltdown, I got there just before it went in the net. It was a giant koi.
The pictures of that one would have to wait as my middle rod was away.
I mean, this is pretty certain this is a carp. This big storm has just blown over. I've actually got a crayfish mascot for some reason down here. There's a fish on this rod, and I've also got a monster that I've just landed in there. Apologies for the very poor filming, but yeah, it is kicking right off. I'm going to try and get this one in. Wow, look at this weather. Clear skies now, but if you look this way, that's where the storm was.
Carp.
Go.
Long one, big tail.
Check that out. A koi carp from Three Islands Lake. Absolutely mental. Got absolutely grassied to death on dark last night. Can't remember how many I had, 4 or 5 takes soon straight after getting the rods out. And then a very, very quiet night for me. Scott, however, has managed a couple. And just as the light was turning and the thunder and lightning was passing, I've managed to get in on the act with this koi oi.
Oh, check this out, 57 pounds. It's been a really busy morning for myself and Pecky. Another massive storm came over. I caught a smaller one, which managed to slip away. And then Pecky had the koi, which you've already seen. And Robbie, last night, caught a lovely 47-pound common, which I went round to see. But this came out from the open water spot, 30 wraps out, same tactics as Pecky, loads of bait going out there. Got a couple of days left. Get some stills of this, but yeah, 57-pound mirror. What an absolute monster. The combination of using lots of bait and effective rigs presented in the right location is critical, and that's what's bringing a good hit of carp this week. With the fishing slow for some of the other anglers, Pecky is letting one of the guys go into his swim to see if they can get into a carp before home time in a couple of days. But before this, Pecky has one last plan of attack.
It's Big Fish Thursday, as they like to say on the French commercial carp scene. And tonight is going to be my last night, and I'm going to go in with a slight change of plan. So in this bucket, I've got 20 kilos of 18mm cell, and it's almost like I'm sacrificing these to the craze. I'm going to fish rubber cell boilies on the hook, but and I am still going to feed some hemp and maize. But what I'm trying to do is slow down the grass carp. I've been catching so many, it's not like bream, you just wind bream in, don't you? Every time you catch a grass carp, you've got a 20-minute battle. So yeah, I'm going to see if the mass boilie approach was perhaps a better option. Let's wait and see. Okay then, there is the old float. Hopefully you can see her. And with regards to the bait, I'm trying to make a sort of 12-foot cube. So 12 foot left and right, 12 foot short, 12 foot long, as I'm fishing 3 rods out here. And I want to make sure that I can hit it relatively easy without having to be too precise. So with the lake having been fishing so slowly prior to our arrival, you're asking yourself the question, why is that? Now, loads of people complaining about the crayfish, attacking their hook baits, mangling their rigs, eating their free offerings, and that leaves me in sort of 2 minds. You know, one problem that is a solvable problem is that you can't keep enough feed in the water. So by applying more feed, lots of bait, then you increase the length of time bait's on the bottom and the carp can find it. So mass baiting is your first option if you believe that the crayfish are the reason why people are not catching. And the second reason in my head why people may not be catching is because the fish are so tuned into eating the crayfish. Now, I think it's probably a combination of the two. I think there's an abundance of crayfish in there that the fish can eat, and I also think that there's so many crayfish that they are destroying all of the angler's bait. Now, after chatting with Nicole and Olivier about that prior to our arrival, decided that I'm going to use completely different tactics to the norm. You know, most of the time when I visited this lake, I fished a straight boilie only approach, and although that's been very successful, I think it's not the one this time. I think most of the guys that have probably been fishing here in recent weeks have been using that tactic, and if they're not catching, I'll be silly to think that I could do the same and change the pattern of what's going on. So yeah, I thought a mass particle approach could be an advantage. And when I say mass particle, I mean hemp, tiny little small seed that's very difficult, and there'll be thousands of seeds in a big bucket full and take the crayfish a long time to sort of find every last grain and eat. And secondly, maize, because maize is very, very cheap, easily cooked on the bank, and carp love maize. So a few tigers in amongst that as well, and fishing it much heavier than what you could spom it out there. I would say like a big spom up for me on most lakes is 50 spoms. Now 50 spoms is probably 5 kilos, and I just feel that when you put crayfish into the mix, 5 kilos is a drop in the ocean. And I don't want to make it sound that everyone that goes fishing needs to put 30 kilos of bait out, but there's a time and a place for every approach. And with nothing getting caught, crayfish being very active, I feel that a 30 kilo drop of hemp and maize over a big area that you can easily hit, like not tight, you know, you spread it around from the boat, I feel that will take the crays too long to find and eat, and it's just impossible, meaning that the carp will have the opportunity to find it. And I'm sure if the crayfish are eating absolutely everything on the bottom, then they'll be interested to be eating food when they find it. So, and the whole rig and hook bait situation is, I don't want any form of attraction on the hook bait. If you say, for example, use the plastic shrink wraps that go around boilies, I don't think that's a good idea personally. I believe that the crayfish finds that, knows there's food inside it, and continues to try to get inside the plastic wrap, and in the process not only is guarding your hook bait, but it has the potential to blunt your hook point, mangle your rig so it's not fishing efficiently when the carp finally turn up. So the hook baits are designed to be non-edible, the crayfish hopefully finding them non-edible, and then moving on to the mass bait that is littered around the bottom, and then that leaving your piece of plastic, which for all intents and purposes is simply a lure or something for the carp to suck in when it comes.
After Pecky got all the bait out for the guys, the storms were back. The daily storms were getting worse by the day. Some of them hit directly over the lake. We had fallen trees and rivers running through the swims.
I got a river flowing down there. It's going all the way down. Look at this. It's like...
And we did get a break in the weather, the fish certainly did come on the feed.
Don't know if it knows it hooked. Interesting. Only just cast out. Look at the rainbow up there. Wow. Grass carp, I think.
On this occasion, it wasn't even a grass carp. It was something much smaller.
Magic cubic. It's a bream.
Whilst I let the bream take 5 minutes, I got the rod back out on the right-hand spot. I've now got 2 rods on the right-hand spot. Originally, I had 2 on the left, but more bites were coming in the open water area. So for the last few nights, I decided to put 2 rods on that open water spot. The traps were set, it was just a waiting game, and we didn't have to wait long as Pecky's big bait drop was about to pay off. After a long battle, a chunky mirror went into the net.
But it's just after 2 AM and one of the rods over all that bait, 20 key settle boilies, half a bucket of mixed particles, and it's bust off with this, a 52-pound mirror, and probably my last fish of the session. I'm going to hand my swim over to one of the lads and see if they can catch one. But key takeaways, mass baiting, close to where they like to hang out, and the plastic hook baits keeping the rigs fishing even when the crays are about. Whee! Oh, well, I'm absolutely knackered. Not long after that 52-pound mirror, I had grass carp. I've recast after that, it's gone back to bed. As you can see, it's just getting light. It's another take. I'm not sure if this is a real carp or another grass carp, but I'm hopeful it's another proper one. Scotty's got something as well. He just stood there holding the camera. What have you had?
Common.
Come on, the common. How big?
No idea. Big.
Big?
Yeah.
What, big mama?
Not big, but big.
Unfortunately, it was another grassy, and that ended a busy night for the both of us. We couldn't relax just yet as it was time to take a look at the captures. First up was the common I caught. It looked huge once we got it out of the water.
61. Is it? That's PB common. Yes, lad. Wow. Big Fish Thursday has produced the goods once again. This is my new PB common, 61 pounds. We've had 2 60s this week between me and Pecky. This is an absolute monster, and I can't wait for Pecky to take some pictures. But what a great week we've had. Not been too many fish out, but myself and Pecky, we've had very consecutive bites every night, and they've just got bigger and bigger for me. The average has been insane. Look at that. Arrgh!
So Scotty made out that my session is finished, but I still had 1 rod in the water after a couple of grass carp, and it ripped off late morning while he was uploading tonight's big carp story, and I was left on my own. So it's a 51-pounder. But my session is now over. Jordan's going to take over my swim and see if he can catch one. And if you don't hear from us again, that means Scotty blinked. But I think he's going to get a couple tonight, and I'm pretty sure you'll see us again.
After taking some pictures of the fish, I decided to leave my rods in for a bit longer than normal. There was a lot of activity over the spots, and I remained optimistic another carp would come along before the grassies stole the show. With a lovely mirror in the net, I brought in the left-hand rod as it looked like there could also be a fish on it, but I was very wrong. 3 eels has matured over time and as such has many snags to contend with. This was evident when I brought in one of my rods after morning bite time.
No wonder I didn't get a bite on this. Fucking hell. Wow. Wow. This is one of the things that people often get cut off on. These trees
this might have blown through the storm. Look at all the mussels on this. Wow. Make sure I'm recording. Look at this. These are so sharp and it's dead easy to get cut off on these. What I'll have to do is check this line, make sure it's not damaged. But if you're coming to 3 eels, watch out for things like this, because yeah, that's mega dangerous. Look at it. Wow. I'll leave that there so they can have a look.
With that snag out of the way, it was time to have a look at that mirror I caught just a little while ago.
Oh, this one is trying to give me a proper shower this morning. Long, lean, 36 pounds mirror from 3 eels. After catching that 61, it was relatively early, so I got the rod back out thinking there might be a chance, and there was. This one came at a time when I've not caught carp yet. Pecky's almost finished fishing now. I think he's just packing up. He's going to let one of the other guys go in there and see if they can get one. But for me, I've got a spot rocking out there. There's some bigger fish to be caught, so I am going to carry on. It's now the Scott show, so let's see if we can get a few more before the session ends tomorrow in 24 hours. Got just under 24 hours left.